By definition, an antenna is a metal whip designed to receive and transmit radio signals within a given area.
It's BS in the Morning on KSLQ and Westplex 107.1.
It is BS.Show. I don't know about that song. I don't know why I've never liked that song. Maybe
I think it's fun.
It's fun. It's a violent song about somebody shooting somebody dead.
Oh,
How's
really?
it? Yeah, you don't listen to the lyrics?
No, sometimes I just listen to the beat.
Oh, you're like the Dick Clark girl. Hi, I like it. You can dance to it. I give it a 98.
Yes, actually, I am one of the Dick Clark girls.
Younger listeners going like, who's Dick Clark, right?
Yeah, and what does that mean?
You know what? It amazes me that you and I are up there in years, okay? It amazes me that in some
Speak
instances...
for yourself.
Well, no. I mean, we're not
Buttercup.
in our 20s, okay? We're not teens or 20s, okay? And in some instances, I'm surprised that people who are like in their teens and 20s and even early 30s know so much of the history of like the 50s and 60s and 70s.
They do.
Well, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that there's so many different still TV channels. Now it's like, streaming and stuff like that. And there's so much out there. And not only that, if you watch regular broadcast TV and you go to like the sub channels, like the 5.2 and the 5.3, like Eon and things like that, have all these old TV shows on it. Murder, She Wrote and it's stuff like
Lansbury.
And it's on every
Matlock.
Right. It's on
Columbo.
every single day. Every single day. There's like hours of that stuff on TV.
Yes,
at least
there
on the
is.
sub channel.
And my mom used to sit and listen to all of it.
She listened or she'd watch?
She watched.
She watched and she listened.
Yes.
Okay. She
know that was a thing.
She sat there in her size 5 shoes, right?
Yeah, 4B actually.
Your mom could make a killing on eBay right now. Because you know why?
She totally could.
Well,
you would not believe the beautiful shoes that woman had.
Well, the point being
that had boxes. Each of them had boxes.
Well, I'd hope
she filled up a whole closet.
Well, the point I was going to make is that I buy boots off of eBay, okay? And typically, and I always look for Belleville boots, which, believe it or not, are made right across the river in Belleville, Illinois. One of the few.
Hence the name.
Yeah, Belleville boots. And there are tons of boots on their size 5, size 5.5. I'm going like, who wears these?
Actually,
your mom would, right?
Really not. There may be more now, but there surely wasn't back in the in the 90s.
That size shoe? I mean, you're saying women didn't have that size foot back then?
No, they did. It's just that they didn't have as many shoes as they do now in that size.
Why is that? I mean, do you know?
Probably because our feet are getting bigger.
Do you know?
And very little people. That didn't come out right. Very. Yeah, I don't even know how to come back from that. But
of the women you know, and I don't know if you're an expert on gauging sizes, but do you know any women that wear like a size 5?
I do.
You do?
But they're little people. They're not little people. They're short, they're vertically challenged.
Well, how tall was your mom?
5'1". So
she wasn't very tall at all then.
No, she was a little bitty thing.
Okay.
With big boobs.
And where'd you come from?
Exactly. Whenever it rained, I know I've told this story before, but whenever it rained and got nasty in North County, my mom would go down in the basement. And she would take this little, I need to find this picture. She would take this little crocheted bag and take it down there with her. And it had all of her good jewelry. And it had one picture of her and I when I was a little baby and she was holding me. And I was almost bigger than her. Well, I mean, as far as she was bigger than me, but for her little frame, she had a big baby. Okay,
there need to be some questions asked here. Whenever it stormed, was she afraid like there was going to be a tornado was going to take down her house?
Yes, she was involved in one when she was a little girl.
Okay, so
and it traumatized her.
So she had all her good jewelry in like a little crocheted bag?
It was it wasn't crocheted, it was quilted.
Okay.
But yes.
And she had, this was like, in other words, and I'm not making fun of this, I think this is sort of interesting. These were like the most precious things in her life. Then that's what she would take to the basement.
Yes.
And would she take you or leave you upstairs, Shelley?
No, because I was out on the back porch. Woohoo!
Well, wouldn't she say to you?
My dad.
Oh, hold. Wouldn't she say to you, Shelley, I think the storm is bad. I think you should come down the basement with me?
Oh, all the time.
And you would say,
woohoo! And the thing about that is she took Tiffany downstairs. She watched Tiffany quite a bit when I was working and going to school.
Right.
When she was a little girl, and she would take her down there.
Right.
So now Tiffany has this incredible fear of storms.
Really?
She's actually much better now than she used to be, but it used to just
Well, no, hold on a minute. When
devastate her.
When Tiffany was a paramedic,
she was a little girl when my mom did this.
I know, but
so that's how she grew up, thinking if you go to the storm, it's going to be bad. You need to go in the basement.
Does she still have that fear of storms, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's not as bad as it was, but yes.
Okay, but when she was a paramedic, there were times she was called out when the weather was terrible because, there were accidents and things like that.
Yeah, she actually fought through her fears, and she would be on there, and there were times when that bus was rocking because of the weather.
The ambulance.
Because they're high-centered.
The ambulance.
Yes.
So, and she was like, did that bother her? Or did it bother? I guess she probably showed on the outside that, she had nerves of steel, but on the inside she's going, oh, crap, I can't believe I'm in this storm.
Yes, that's pretty much. I think that actually scared her more than when she had a triple murderer in her bus, in her ambulance, and she was the driver and the other paramedic was the person that took care of this person.
Yeah.
And
in other words, when you say triple murder, this person just killed 3 people, but he was alive. He'd been shot as well, too, then?
Yes.
Okay.
So she's sitting there and she's driving. The police, think she's fine. So they like go and leave her with this triple murderer. Well, then this Hispanic gang came up and wanted retaliation
on the dude that was in the ambulance.
Correct.
Okay.
And so they opened up the door, and Tiffany was moved in the front real quick and just slammed on the gas. And she's like, "Hold on!" And she just beat feet out of there
because they were going to kill the guy who was in the back of the ambulance.
Correct. And who knows what they would have done with them? They just would have been collateral damage.
Wow. Your daughter's an impressive woman. You know what
yes,
I mean?
Yes, she is.
I'm
Thank
telling you. I mean, you know how because of the fact that I grew up with this very strong-willed and very well-educated mother, okay?
Who loved you.
I am very comfortable around very successful, strong-willed women. I mean, I told you the story that when Karen Carroll took over as our general manager of the radio station, there were guys who literally quit because they weren't working for no woman. And to me,
by golly, by gory.
Well, yes, and to me, I told you the story about J.C. Corcoran when his station, when 93.7 got bought. He was the morning guy at 93.7, and Karen Carroll became his boss because the company that Karen Carroll worked for had bought these other stations, and all of a sudden Karen Carroll was his boss. He hated that. He had this sound effects he'd play of like this dinosaur, like rah, like you'd see like in the movies, like some big T-Rex was like screaming and yelling. He whenever he talked about her, he'd play that sound. And next hour, remind me to tell this story about J.C. Corcoran running into Karen Carroll's husband at Chesterfield Mall. It's
like physically ran into.
Well, let me say, he's walking one way and Karen Carroll's husband walking the other way. And they see each other, and I'll tell the rest of the story about what happened. But see, I've always been extremely comfortable with and what's interesting to me.
How can you say that? Because you're like all twittery when you're around me.
No. What do you mean a twittery around you? I
don't know.
There's some guys.
You're just not comfortable with me.
Oh, baloney. There's some guys. There are some guys that are afraid of women who empower, and other men.
It's true. They are.
No, they are. And there's some guys who are just afraid of women in power, and there's some guys that represent women in power. Okay. Go back 50 years. most businesses, almost all businesses were run by men. I mean, like when I first got in the radio business, the only people in
except for daycares. Daycares were run by women.
But that's different, though. I mean, there's always been business.
Not different.
No, there's always been businesses that women have been front and center. I mean, for a long time, it was all women nurses. What are you talking about? It hasn't been like until the past 20 or 30 years. You see male nurses because it was always nurses were always women, always. You just didn't see male nurses. The only time you saw male nurses was if they were in the military and they came out of the military. But even then, you didn't have that many male nurses. Because you go back to World War II, and even Korea, go back and watch the MASH shows, all the nurses in the operating room with Hawkeye, all women. The doctors were all men, the nurses were all women. That was the way it was. And if you got into the Army and you were a woman, you essentially had certain jobs you could do. I mean, and certain jobs you couldn't do. Remember, up until recently, women couldn't be in combat. You didn't have any women pilots. I mean, there have been incredible stories about. There's this one pilot. You can watch her. I can't remember his name. Interesting woman, and she flew an A-10. I don't know if you know what an A-10 is. They call it the Warthog, and the A-10 is this incredibly tough aircraft. It's predominantly made for ground support. It's like a fighter. It's an attack. Is
that what we saw when we went over to Spirit?
No, there were only A-10s over there. The A-10, and she was in the first Gulf War, and she got hit by this rocket. Okay, and literally, there's pictures of her. You can see there's pictures online of her after she landed the thing back at the base. I don't know how in the world she flew the plane. I mean, there's big pieces missing off the plane.
Well, she's a professional.
Well, but she tells the story about how her training kicked in. She was an Air Force Academy graduate and the whole bit. And it's interesting. The men she flew with were very, very respectful of her, but other guys in the military were not, because she was one of the first women who actually saw combat as an aviator. And
did she cry like a girl?
No, she was like cool.
Well, then why are they busting
because
on her?
That's a man's job. Come on, you know some of these guys, these cretins.
Yeah, I do.
That's a man's job. Women don't do that. Women aren't attorneys. Women don't run companies. That kind of a thing. And
women doesn't run the country.
Well, and if you've ever talked to any women who've been on construction sites, who are in construction, like on road crews. And I'm not making fun of this. I know how this works. I have a friend of mine that's in the construction business who does roads and things like that. He tells me that the supervisor, the foreman, or whoever, the crew, typically, if they're working on the road, like, the person who holds the stop and the wait sign, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's a woman. And they put her there on purpose because they don't want her messing with other stuff. That's her job.
They don't want her pushing the buttons?
They don't want her messing with the construction equipment.
Just like you not letting me push the buttons.
You can come and push the buttons anytime you want, but the problem is you don't know what you're doing.
So you can teach me. That's what you do. You're my mentor.
Well, unfortunately, this piece of equipment that I'm running right now, there's a warning tab on it. There's two warning tabs on it. It has the
no Shelley bar.
It has the Proposition 65 warning, and
what's that?
That's the stupid California thing, that the Prop 65 warning is on everything. Some goofy law that passed in California decades ago that you could get cancer from looking at a bowl of cereal. You know what I mean? That's that's the whole thing.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Okay, and the other little reader says, warning, not to be toyed with by women who are on the air. So it says right there.
There's a lot of women on the air that will pop you like a tick, buddy.
Some of them, yes. Okay, we have to take a break.
Am I wrong?
What? They're going to pop me like a tick? No, most of the women I know in the radio business, I have a great relationship with. I mean, you see, I told you the story with my traffic network. I had all women working for me because of the fact that what did all these radio stations want? They wanted a woman on the air, but
traffic bunny.
They wanted a traffic bunny. That's exactly, because that way they had a woman on the air. So most of my people who worked for me were women, And the sad part of it is that most of these women, most of them was their first job in the radio. Most of them had applied at radio stations and had never been hired because, we're not going to say that's why they weren't hired, but we can pretty much surmise that's why they weren't hired, because they were women. They didn't want women on the air. To this day, matter of fact, there still goes on. We'll talk about it next break. There's a couple big cases. There's one in Chicago that's still going on with. I mean, if I told you
about a woman.
We'll talk about it next
or
break.
Or a man about a man and a dog.
No. Where did the dog come from?
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to go see a woman about a dog.
This is the story of a girl who...
No, that's Matt Damon. What was that?
I don't know.
Robin Williams and Matt Damon.
I have no idea. Okay, we have to take a break. It's 6:29.
It's a chick flick. You should know it.
It is BS.Show. I'm Shelley. She's Brad. It is 6:34. A Wednesday morning. It is Shelley's favorite day. It is hump day. Hold on a minute. I have something... Okay, never mind. Are you there, Shelley? I guess she's not there.
No, I really am.
Okay. We were talking about...
my pot down because I'm noisy and I piddle around here.
Okay. Okay, we were talking about last break about women in radio, specifically women in high power positions, and not so specifically women in radio. And, hold on a minute. And how a lot of that behavior is gone, which, once again, is good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying the behavior was bad. It still happens. There's a guy in Chicago that lost his job last year, maybe it was the year before, and he'd been on the air for like 20 years, very highly rated morning show. And he had like a steady cast of women co-hosts with him that were there for like 3, 4, 5 years, and then they would quit. And the reason, you know why they quit?
I do not.
Because he was a butthead, and he would harass them, and at some point in time, sexually harass them, or sexually intimidate them, or ask them for sex, okay? And I'm going...
Do men get that same treatment?
Well, yes, but most guys...
Okay.
No. I'll see, once again, I told you, once upon a time I was a police dispatcher, right?
Yes, Brad.
Okay. And as a young dude, I was just barely...
You were actually a young dude sometime.
Yeah, can you believe that? I just barely turned 18 when I got my job as a police dispatcher, okay? And one night, we had a guy coming to the police station who was bleeding, who had obviously been beaten, and had a black eye. And in other words, you could tell he had been previously beaten, but he was just freshly beaten as well, too. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
oh, okay. Yes, I do.
He had some old beat marks and some new fresh stuff, some new blood. And he came in and was very sort of weird. The officers asked him what had happened. And he was very cagey, wouldn't really say. It turned out that he had an abusive wife who beat the crap out of him on a daily, not a daily, but on a regular basis. Not, once a week, but it just, sometimes 3 or 4 days, and she'd punch him and stuff like that. And he didn't know what to do. Because, do you know why?
Because he was a dude, and dudes don't
right.
report stuff like that because it's not manly.
Yes, it's not manly. Dudes don't report the fact that a woman beat the crap out of them, okay?
Yeah.
They just don't. I mean, I'm not saying they don't, but typically, and you don't hear about it much, but there is spousal abuse or by women beating up men. And
absolutely.
Right. So it's one of those things where your point is, well, don't women ever abuse men? Yeah, they do. But yet, for the most part, the guys won't admit it because, although things are changing now, because back in the day you had to be He-Man, you had to be tough, you had to be John Wayne, you had to be, the one of those kind of guys.
Since the onset of the demasculinity of man,
where toxic masculinity, the whole bit. But this guy in Chicago, it turned out like after they. I mean, once again, it's like the Harvey Weinstein thing. It'd been going on for years and years and years, and the women had started to put up with it. And finally, something happened where the women say, not putting up with this anymore. And they all came forward. And there were like 5 or 6 women, all co-hosts of him, who came forward, and the guy got fired. Finally, he got fired. And he was making like $1.2 million a year.
No way.
Oh, yeah, making a lot of money. Some of these guys in the major markets can make some serious dollars. I mean, it's surprising. There's guys.
So how do they do that? Do they do that by their sales staff, or do they do that by selling their own time.
Combination thereof, or they do endorsements and stuff like that. Most of the radio stations have a deal where
we could do endorsements. I want to do endorsements.
Like for a guy like Dave Glover, he doesn't do it much as he used to. Since they put him on KMOX, he doesn't do this. But he would get
He's on KMOX?
Yeah, they moved him like 2 years ago.
Huh.
Yeah, shows you what you
I've
know,
been
right?
too busy about worrying about our stations.
Right. Well, anyway, he used to do endorsement spots. And the deal was every time the commercial played, when you listen to 97.1, every time the commercial played, the radio station got X amount of money, like the radio station get a couple $100, and Dave Glover would get like $50. Every time you heard a commercial, hi, this is Dave Glover, I want to tell you about my friends, and blah, blah, blah. Every time that happened, he got $50. So, but see.
It's a spiff.
But Dave was smart. It's just like, and the interesting thing was, how did Guy Phillips last so long? Because he was really good with clients. He would, he would wine and dine. He'd go out to dinner with clients, with the salesperson. He'd go out here and he'd go have them over to their house. He'd invite them over, hey, come over to my house, watch TV and stuff like that. And the clients go, oh, wow, I get to go over to Guy Phillips' house. I get to watch football with Guy Phillips. So a lot of DJs, it's changed, but there's still guys out there who are like weirdos. Who, once again, who do you get that sits in a 10 by 10 foot room that talks to themselves for 4 hours a day? They're a little bit strange, okay? Most of them are. Let's be honest with you. I'm a little bit strange, maybe a lot strange, okay? But I get the fact that...
But haven't you done that for like your entire life?
Yes, but there was a time when I first got in the radio business that my immediate boss, my program director, would tell us the sales department is the enemy. They were the enemy. And there was.
How is that possible?
Because
bread and butter.
But once again, I agree with you 100%. And I always thought to myself, okay, I don't quite understand that. Why are they the enemy? Because of the fact that if they don't sell any advertising, just like you and me, if you and I don't sell advertising, guess what happens to this radio station? It goes off the air. Because it's not like the God Squad stations where people are just saying, oh, you're so wonderful. Here's $1,000. I'm going to send you the mail. Just keep playing that God Squad music. Well, it doesn't work like that with us.
People don't say that.
They do.
No, they don't.
They're back.
Stop
Hold it. Here's a recording. Here's a recording of someone who's listening to a God Squad station. Ready? Oh, you guys are so wonderful. I love that God Squad music you play. Here's $1,000. That was actually a recording of someone.
That actually is probably not too far from the truth.
Well, but remember, I told you the story. Saying. I told you the story that I found. I shouldn't talk about this because I'll get myself in trouble with some listeners.
Well, then don't talk about it. You always preface that with
Okay, because some people may find this offensive. Okay, I can tell you an interesting story. I can ask radio people in this market, and I've done it before, and there are people that I know that I have asked this question to. I said, "Hey, Joy 99, yeah, how much money do you think that station makes? $200,000-$300,000 a year." I said, "Try $10 million," and they went, "What? $10 million?" Yes, $10 million. Okay, I can look it up right now. Matter of fact, I can show you here. I'll do it right now. Okay, I can look at their balance sheet because of the fact that they are on this website. Here, the name of the company is called Gateway Creative Broadcasting. Okay, if you just type into Google, anybody can do this right along with me, Gateway Creative Broadcasting, DCASTING. Okay, chances are the first thing that comes up, like for me, once again, here it is, ECAF, and this is an organization that is in ecfa.org, and you go to, and it's an accredited organization profile, and it says Gateway Creative Broadcasting operates 2 Christian music radio stations in the St. Louis metro area and several syndicated cities. Okay, so they're now in other cities. I don't know if you knew that or not. They're syndicating Boost. Okay, their revenue's a little bit down.
They're syndicating what?
Boost. It's the format they do.
Boobs?
Okay. B-O-O-S-T. Boost.
Oh,
like you're going to boost.
Oopsie.
Okay.
Little misunderstanding there.
I'm reading their balance sheet, okay?
Uh-huh.
Top line, revenue, cash donations, $6.3 million. Other revenue, $1.1 million. Total revenue, $7,471,345. Expenses, $6,929,000. Where do they spend $6 million
for a year?
This is for a year. Okay,
that's got to be salaries.
But $7 million. Okay,
Dude, I
Okay,
don't know.
this is the
I
problem.
want an expense account. Do they have an expense account?
Hold on a minute. Okay, this is the problem with not-for-profits is that it shows total expenses, then it says excess or deficit, okay? In a regular company, that would be the profit line. It would be net profit, okay? Excess, they made $500,000, $542,000. Okay, now, if you go back and look at their history, I think we're looking at, that's 2021. In 2020, they did over $8 million. In 2019, they did a little bit shy of $8 million. And in 2018, they did over $10 million. It's all people sending them money, donations.
Yes.
People just sending them money, okay?
Yes.
And once again, let me tell you, here in the market, you and I, we had lunch with Jeff Allen, and he bragged about the fact that after 20 years, 97.1 did $7 million in sales. Okay? This place is doing $7 million at least every year. And once again, here the interesting part of this is because they are not for profit, they don't pay any taxes. They're not.
Yes, Brad, we know all that.
They're not paying any FCC fees.
Which just bothers the crap out of you.
It does. Because it's like me with churches. If the reason you get these guys in government say, well, you got to pay your personal. Now the whole thing is, you were in the meeting once where we were with Mayor Pagano from St. Peter's, and he goes ballistic. He hates Bill Eigel because Bill Eigel is trying to get rid of the personal property tax. Okay, and that's money that the cities get. The cities and the counties get that personal property tax money. Okay, so
was that in his campaign?
Bill Eigel's talked about that forever. Matter of fact, that's one of the things.
Okay, so that was in his campaign.
Yes, he wants to get rid of.
So they basically knew it was coming.
No. They keep trying to pass this bill and never gets passed. Okay, because they want to do away with personal property tax. Because you go to Illinois, you don't have personal property tax. You don't
have personal property tax in Florida either.
Okay, but the point I'm making is.
Oh, you have a point.
Well, the argument that the mayors will make is that when you pay that personal property tax, that real estate tax, you're funding our police department, our fire department, our streets department, blah 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 blah. Okay.
Blah 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 blah.
Okay, I get that, and that's true. You are the personal property tax and real estate tax goes to fund essential services and some non-essential services like parks and things like that. But that's a whole nother story. Okay, the churches don't pay that. So when they dial 911 and the police show up, or the fire department shows up, or the paramedics show up, they're not paying for that. You and I are. They're not paying for it. They don't pay for the streets. They don't pay for anything because they're tax-free. And once again, I think that's wrong. I mean, it's just like, where Sager Junior High is, or Sager Middle School right there on Central School Road?
Oh, is that the kid?
It's right next. It's right next. It's across the highway. It's across
the grade school next to Hollenbeck.
No. Yeah. Excuse. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's. You're correct.
That's Seeger.
It's not Sager. It's Hollenbeck. It's Hollenbeck. You're correct. I'm wrong. Hollenbeck's right there in Central School Road. Okay.
Right. That's a junior
across
high.
The street. Yes, and it sits right next to Central School. Across the street, they bought a big automotive repair facility. It used to be owned by this crane company called Missouri Crane Company. They bought it. Okay. First off, they don't do anything there. You go by there. There's never anything there. It's where they used to have all the recycling bins for cardboard. Remember that? They had. I'd go recycle cardboard there all the time. Gone. Okay. One year when I was voting there, I go in.
You voted at Hollenbeck?
Yeah. I was going in, and the guy running for school board was telling me how, he was already on school board and he wanted to get reelected. And he's telling me how they've run such a tight budget, blah, blah, blah. And I literally, it's across the street, and I pointed to him. I go, why did you buy that? And he goes, well, we needed that for support services. It's called the Jerry Berber Support Services Building or something like that.
Is that what that's for?
There's never anybody there. It's like it's storage or something like that. And I said to him, well, first off, you did two things. You spent taxpayer dollars on a building that you don't hardly even use, because I used to live right down the street. And there's never anybody at the place. You don't ever see anybody there. Secondly,
That's true, you do not.
When they bought the building, it came off the tax rolls. So in other words, there used to be a guy who owned that building who pays real estate taxes every year for that building, right? Guess what? There's nobody paying real estate taxes because it's the school district. School district doesn't pay taxes. So in other words, they sort of slit their own throat. You know, I mean, they shot themselves in the foot, whatever. You know, they're we need more money. They took that off the tax rolls. They shouldn't have done that. Anyway, how were you talking about that? It must be you.
I don't know.
Must be you.
Only you.
MBY.
What?
MBY.
MBY.
Must be you. Okay, it's 6:49. It is BS.Show. I'm Shelley. She's Brad. And no, that is not Dua Lipa. That is Britney Spears. I told the story that not this past Friday, but the Friday before I was driving. I was going to pick up some parts up in northwestern Illinois. And I'm listening to a radio station guy, hey, that's the latest from Elton John and Dua Lipa. I'm going, no, it's not. I had to come back and check. Elton John has done a duet with Dua Lipa, but not that one. That's with Britney Spears. And when I said that to Shelley, she went, Britney Spears? I go, yes, that's Britney Spears. Are you back?
I'm back.
Did you go in your garage?
I did.
Did you look at the car?
I did.
Does it work?
It does.
Okay.
Bravo.
Oh, no, this is sort of inside baseball, okay? I have spent more time at our transmitter site. I've been there, I think, since last week. I've been there every single day, some days twice. Okay, we're trying to get our RDS fixed, which is the stuff that comes up on your dashboard, okay? Here's the problem, Shelley, and we'll talk about this on the air. The external unit that has the scrolling stuff that used to be on, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I can't get the external unit to work. No matter what I do, I can't get it to work. So I called the nice customer support people, and this is like 7 o'clock at night last night. And once again, the customer support people are on the Eastern time zone. They may be in the Atlantic time zone. They're 2 hours ahead. So it was like 9 o'clock their time. And I called, I get the answering service. The guy calls me back and he walks me through. He can't figure it out either. We can't get the external one to work. That's the internal one. And this is sort of inside baseball stuff. That's the internal RDBS system, and it has limited fields. So in other words, I only have so many.
I noticed that.
I only have so many characters to play with. Mm-hmm. Okay, so for the time being, Pez is on. His phone number's there, and his website's there, and it talks about
his area code's not there.
I can't fit it in.
Oh, I got it.
I'm short one digit.
Well, it's up.
I'm short. Yes.
If you know what we're talking about. Josh Pezzamenti, they have a business called GoPez, and it's a
.com, GoPez.com.
Yep, GoPez.com.
Yes.
And they are a hardscape company, a landscape company, and a pest control company.
And they are very good at what they do.
Extremely good. Like, they are masters at their craft.
Right.
And they're good humans, too.
And they're one of our advertisers. And
yes, they are.
We had some changes with the radio stations where we had to move some equipment around. And the piece of equipment that used to be in 107.1 is now not there anymore. So I put in another piece of equipment that used to be on KSLQ. And for some reason, it does not want to work. And it's been driving me crazy because this is the piece of equipment that generates the characters that show up on your display. If you have the newer radios in your car, it shows you what station you're listening to. Now, here's the question I have to ask of you. Did you notice?
Me?
Yes.
Or people in general?
Well, you, because you looked at it in your car. You went down and looked at it in your car, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Did you notice anything else on there?
No. But
okay.
What was I supposed to notice? I was just ecstatic that it was showing up.
Is there a button on your radio where you can toggle through the messages on the RDS?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, never mind. Because I put something on there.
What did you put on there? You're out of characters, and it was something about me, wasn't it?
No, there's another field that shows up in some radios, and it doesn't show up in other radios. So it may not show up in your radio. You may have to push a button.
So what does it say?
I'm not going to say. You'll have to see it for yourself.
Brad,
when
it's raining and nasty outside.
Yeah, and the point is, why don't you stay outside for a little bit longer, Shelley? Soak in some of that.
This is me not laughing.
Soak in some of that liquid sunshine. Soak it in, yeah. Just soak it right in. Just let it. It feels so good. No, you don't think? Okay. So anyway, and now I don't have time to tell the whole story, but I knocked the station off the air last night for about a half hour. Okay, and I'm going like, what did I do? Okay. And once again, sometimes, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or any broadcast engineer, the average person would show up to like a transmitter site and go, oh my God, how do you know how anything works? Especially,
yes, that is true.
Especially that transmitter site, because if you look at our equipment next to the 97.1 stuff, we're in the same tower as 97.1 out there in O'Fallon. It's like the spaceship Enterprise. Okay, it's like,
yeah.
Okay, you know what? We'll pick this up next hour. Okay, 6:59. We have to take a break. It's almost 7:00. It's 6:59.
Okay.
It is BS.Show at 7:06. I'm Brad. She's Shelley. Together we make BS. And by the way, we want to make you aware of, we have clients on this radio station who make this possible. No, people just don't send us money like they do the God Squad stations. We have to go out and sell advertising. And one of those clients is Dr. Lant, L-A-N-T, at Four Circles Vision Therapy, right there on Highway K.
Lant.
Right next
Good
to,
human.
just next to, literally next to, the Lou Fuse Jeep dealership. If you have problems with your eyes, I told the story over 20 years ago, actually 21 years ago. You know what? My anniversary, I didn't talk about that. Anniversary was January 3rd of 2002. Anyway.
Really?
Yeah, 21 years. I had surgery in my eye. All I can tell you is it didn't go well. It's never a good thing when a doctor is operating you and he says, OS blank blank T. That's never a good thing, and that's what happened to me. Dr. Lant, of all the doctors I've seen through the years, he helped me the most, and I need to go see him again because I have some other problems, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, check him out, Four Circles Vision Therapy, and when I say vision therapy, he works with young people who have vision issues, which need some therapy, not necessarily surgery, but some therapy. And It's sort of complicated, but if you have a student that maybe has problem reading, or if you have a young person that is in athletes and they deal with balls, tennis balls, baseballs, basketballs, footballs, he can help them see that ball better. And if you ever talk to these major league guys who are the big Major League Baseball players who are the home run kings, it all comes down to seeing the ball, because that ball leaves the pitcher's hand at like 80 to 100 miles an hour, and you have a split second to make your decision as to if you're going to swing or not, and you got to have great eyes. But there also has to be some training to that eye. Dr. Land can do that. Check him out, Four Circles Vision Therapy. Okay.
And he's a lovely man.
So I'm working at the KRAP, or the Westplex transmitter site last night, and I go around the big rack where our transmitter sits, and all of a sudden the transmitter goes off the air. And I'm going, what in the world did I do? And I'm going through all the diagnostics. It's still on, but it's not transmitting. Off the air for about a half an hour. So I call the manufacturer's emergency number. Nice guy calls me back about 20 minutes later. I rubbed up against a connector that I didn't solder very well to begin with, and the solder connection broke. So,
old solder joint?
Well, unfortunately, yes. And matter of fact, you saw me solder it, because remember, we had to put that one goofy connector in the back of the transmitter.
And I do remember that.
And here we've got a transmitter site that has tools everywhere, no soldering iron. So we literally went out and bought one. So I just literally pushed the connection back together. It's still on the air, I can tell, which is amazing. So
it is still on the air.
Later today, I have to go back out and with my soldering iron and fix it for good. So if we go off the air again today, it's me pulling the plug, putting it on the bench, soldering the connection, good, and then leaving it alone. And here's the problem I have right now.
He's not going to San Diego today.
Who's not?
You.
Okay. Here's the problem I have. Once upon a time, we had Olive Electronics, we had Van Sickle Electronics, we had the electronics, what do you call it, superstores on the Rock Road. We had Gateway Electronics. There's nobody left.
No.
I can't go, if I need a microphone connector and what they call an XLR, I can't go buy one anywhere. I can't get
Except for Amazon.
Yeah, well, I can't. What I'm saying, I can't. I can get it through Newark. I can get it through Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Or even Amazon doesn't have many parts. They have like cable assemblies. Like a whole microphone cable assembly.
Yes, they do.
They don't usually have parts. Okay, this has happened to me. I don't know how many times in the last couple of weeks. Gateway Electronics went out of business, I guess about a year ago. I could go into that place. I could go into that place, and I knew, like for example, any good mechanic or any good technician that works on equipment, stuff like that, has spare parts because you know what normally breaks, okay? You know that this component is, for example, I probably have, and I'm not exaggerating, I probably have 2,000 fuses, okay? And I'm not exaggerating when I say that because I've got, and now they keep making different fuses. Once upon a time, you had the little glass fuses in your car. Then you had what they call the ATOs. Now they go into all these goofy kind of things. And in my one vehicle, I blew one fuse, okay? One stinking little fuse cost me, it's a little tiny thing, $9 at the auto store, at the auto parts place. I'm going like, okay, this is ridiculous. So anyway, if I don't have it in stock, if I don't have it like as a spare, I can't, something happens with one of our pieces of equipment, and I'm screwed because I used to be able to go to, Van Sickle or Olive or when you were with the FAA, where did you go? You went and bought parts,
Gateway.
Did you go to Gateway?
Yes.
But you probably had accounts at Olive and Van Sickle when they were around, right? But you probably had...
I never went there. I only went to Gateway.
But you had stuff, you probably had a lot of spare parts as well, too, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So you had a bunch of spare parts. Okay.
Yes, we did.
You got to have spare parts. And one of those things. Okay.
And micro tools.
Yes. And
you have to have a set of micro tools.
And SMD desoldering stations and stuff like that. People are going, what the hell is he talking about? Yes. Everything's SMD, surface mount devices. That's what everything is. Okay. Two things to talk about.
Okay.
One of them I should have talked about yesterday.
What's that?
I forgot about it. Okay. I preface this by saying I'm so tired of people using this excuse that people can't go vote. Okay? Martin Luther King's day was Monday. Okay? And Joe Biden went down to Georgia and he preached at Martin Luther King's old church, which is now...
Looking for a soul to steal?
Well, I don't know. I mean... Don't get me going about is the new guy who's the new senator who's also still the head pastor there. I have a problem with that. If he's a senator, be a senator. If he's a pastor, be a pastor. Don't do both, okay? Anyway.
Yeah, isn't that like the ultimate church and state?
Well, you'd think, but, once again, but see, the interesting thing you talk about is they talk about separation of church and state. Technically, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that. There's nothing that says there's a separation of church and state. It's a thing they try to do. That's the whole idea. And if we talked about taxes, the whole idea behind churches not being taxed is that's a carryover from England because the churches in England were not taxed because they were part of the government. Remember, that was the reason that a lot of the English people left England because they didn't believe in the Church of England. England was the country and the Church of England was the church. It was the official church. It was run by the government. And to a certain extent, there's sort of, once upon a time, there used to be a lot more of that in with the Roman Catholic Church in Italy. That the Roman Catholic Church sort of ran Italy, but that's not the same. Okay, anyway, let me keep going on this. Okay, I can't remember where I was going. Okay, so Biden goes down there and gives a speech, and once again he tells how the Republicans are evil and blah blah blah. Martin Luther King III gets up and gives a speech, and what does he say? He talks about discrimination for black people, how they are not allowed to vote. I'm going like, I am so sick and tired of this, okay? And once again, hold on a minute. If you remember, this started in Georgia, and in a recent history, this is in the last couple of years. The All-Star game was supposed to be in Georgia, and the Republicans changed the voter laws in Georgia, okay? And everybody went, oh my God, they're making this Jim Crow again. They're making it so the black people can't vote. They're doing that number. So they moved the All-Star game, the baseball All-Star game, to Denver. Okay? Now,
why?
Because the people...
That's going to make it easier for them?
No, the people in Georgia, they're terrible people. They don't want the black people to vote. Okay, in this last election, do you know that they had more people than ever vote? They had the actual election in November, and then they had runoff between Herschel Walker and Warnock. They had that in December. And matter of fact, on the early voting, they set records. There were more people that voted in Georgia than ever voted ever in the state of Missouri. And once again, the people say, look what the state of Missouri did. They put in the law, you have to have a driver's license or picture ID. Okay, I will say to you, if you are a normal human being on a daily basis, I've done this before. I have gone through a week where I've counted the number of times I've had people ask to see my ID and sometimes it's double digits, okay? I tell the story about I go to pay
That's because all you're doing is looking at weapons.
No. I go to the store to pay my credit card bill, and they want to see my ID. I'm giving them money. And at one point in time, I got mad about that. I did mad. I said to the lady, I go, ma'am, why do you need to see my ID? Here's my credit card. Here's cash. Why do you? So she says, well, I'll let the manager talk to you. So the manager comes over. He's very nice. I wasn't mean or anything like that. I said to him, explain it to me. It would be different if I'm coming in the store and I go, hey, I lost my credit card. Can you give me a temporary card? And they go, well, we have to make sure you are. Because, I could be anybody. I could be you. And I go like, I'm going to go in the store and get a temporary credit card. And I'm going to charge it to Shelley's account, right? So he says to me, he gives me this long-winded explanation about, well, sometimes we have this problem where someone is separated or they're divorced and their ex will come in here and try to get their new account number by paying money. And I go, well, I don't know my account number. And quite honestly, here's the weird thing. That's one of the credit cards I don't have anymore because I lost my wallet. And I never declared that card stolen, okay? So it's somewhere because nobody's used it. Everything in that wallet, I never declared any of it stolen or lost. I have 3 credit cards in that little wallet. None of them have been used. I check them all the time. None of them ever used. In other words, that wallet is sitting somewhere where nobody's found it. It's either, I don't know where it's at. Okay, but the point being is, and I'm missing a point on this. Okay, and here's the interesting thing. If you get in your car and drive to the airport and jump on a plane and fly to Washington, D.C., and go to the Department of Justice, okay, the DOJ, guess what it takes to get into the DOJ?
A valid ID.
A picture ID. What does it take to get onto a plane? A picture ID.
Yes.
So if you don't have a picture ID, you must be sitting in your house doing nothing. Because, and for example, there was something the other day where I saw something that they were talking about the fact that they were going to start having people show their IDs to get into concerts. I'm going, what? I'm going like, what in the world is this?
Why would they need that?
I don't know. Don't ask me. But the point being is, and I told you the story when I had to drive to Kansas City for my first COVID shot. And on the way back, I'm listening to the Kansas City, one of the stations out of Jefferson City, talk station. And they have one of the ladies who was a state rep at the time. And she's on this voter ID committee. And she says, the state of Missouri will get you a ID for free. And she says, if you don't have your documentation, we will do all the research for you for free. She said through the Secretary of State's office, they will do all the research for you. And once again, it's free. They don't charge you. You get a non-driver's license. They don't charge you. So why is it that people say, well, it's terrible. They won't let black people vote because they're asking for an ID. Okay, if you don't have an ID, you must sit at home all the time and do nothing. And to me, here's the thing that bothers me about this, okay? Voting is not a right. It's a privilege, okay? Like driving a car. Driving a car is not a right. It's a privilege, okay? There's nothing
like
in the...
Speedex and Spandos?
Right. It's not a right. It's a privilege. There's nothing in this Constitution that says that you have the right to vote. You have the right to drive a car, okay? Once again, being basically the libertarian I am, think about this for a minute. If someone showed up at the driver's license bureau, if you're 16 years old and you walk in here and go, hey, I want a driver's license. I go, well, you got to take the test. You got to take the written test and the driving test. I don't want to do that. I just want the license. Okay, what would you say about that? You say, yeah, that's right. We shouldn't give a test. It shouldn't be any test. Anybody walks in the door should get a license, right?
No.
You have to show some competency, okay? So in other words, there is a very small barrier to entry to becoming a driver on the roads. You have to read the book. You have to take the test, and then you have to get in the car, and you have to go with the guy or the gal, drive you around. You have to parallel park. You can't run stop signs. You stop at red lights. You don't do over the speed limit, blah, blah, blah. It's not that tough, okay? There's a certain level of effort you have to exert to get that privilege to drive a car. Same thing.
Levels. I just can't. Rooftop.
I just can't go out to the airport. I can't go out to Spirit and go, oh, I like that little Cessna 152. I'm going to go fly that. No, A, I'm stealing. B, I don't have a license. And why is that? They make you get a license because when you're flying around there at the sky, if you don't know what you're doing, you might crash into somebody's house and kill somebody. Or you might have a passenger with you and kill the passenger. You'll kill yourself, but you kill the passenger as well, too. The point being is...
You're such a ray of sunshine.
Well, no, my point is that there are things in our day-to-day life that you have to exert a little bit of energy and intestinal fortitude to do. And if somebody will sit there and say, well, I can't vote because they won't let me vote, that is BS. And that's not Brad and Shelley. That is BS. Now, here's where the Republicans are screwing up, okay? I'll give you this is free advice to Bill Eigel and people like that, okay? Mm-hmm. If the Republicans were smart, because the Democrats always want, those nasty Republicans, they're terrible. They won't let black people vote. Not the case. Here's what the Republicans should be doing.
Did Biden say that as well?
Oh, he's always saying that. He called the stuff in Georgia Jim Crow 2, Jim Crow 2.0. Do you know what
does that mean?
Jim Crow was a law they put into effect essentially, and once again, when minorities got the vote, when black people got the vote, some of the southern states made it tough for black people to vote. Let's be honest, they did. They had what they called a poll tax. In order for you to go vote, you had to pay a tax to go vote, which they declared illegal, okay? That doesn't happen anymore. Maybe on some very limited basis, someplace down in Mississippi, someplace in backwater Mississippi, there's maybe some white dude who, when a black person comes in and says, I'm sorry, you can't vote. But nowadays, all that black person has to do is call the DOJ, and there'll be 14,000 DOJ attorneys that'll that'll bounce into that town, and that guy will be thrown in jail. Okay, that's all there is to it. Okay, so what the Republicans should be doing is they should be saying, okay, we're going to take the offensive on this, and every week we're going to have a voter registration drive. And we're going to drive in the areas where, they claim that there's areas like they talk about food deserts, certain parts of the city where mostly black people live. There's food deserts. There's no Schnucks. There's no Deerbergs. Matter of fact, there was a big story recently that Deerbergs is going to build a new store in Crestwood. You know this story?
I don't.
And the guy from the NAACP said, how come you aren't building more stores in North County? We want Deerbergs in North County. Well, there is a Deerbergs in North County. I've been into the place. It's right across the street from where I used to work. The Steak and Shake on Lindbergh was right across the street from where the Deerbergs is, okay? So he's saying that Deerbergs doesn't like black people because they don't have Deerbergs in North County when there's a Deerbergs in Florissant, okay? So in other words, they're saying, well, Deerbergs are only for white people. Okay, whatever.
Who said that?
This NAACP guy said that. Okay, so my point is the Republicans should literally go into black neighborhoods and knock on doors and say, hi, we're your friendly neighborhood Republicans. We want to make sure that everybody here can vote. And if somebody says, no, I can't vote, I don't have ID, well, let me help you. We'll be more than happy. We'll get you all the documentation, and we'll get you your non-driver's license in the state of Missouri, which is free. All we need is a few things from you. We'll be back next week, and we'll have all the paperwork for you. Okay? That's how the Republicans could win the stupid battle. But the problem is, it's like somebody, and these people, somebody says, oh, I can't find a job. And you say, have you looked? Have you driven down any street and where every place has a now hiring sign? We've had advertisers in this radio station hiring.
Yes.
The Buddies people
that bought a package specifically to advertise
because they don't have enough people. There are places till this day. To this day,
that pay well.
Well, I told you the story. The guy that owns the Culver's down in the valley, down in Gumbo Flats, Chesterfield Valley. He told me that the Hardee's down there closes at 4:00 because they don't have enough people to run the night shift. And he said that some of the places in the valley, you walk in the door as like a busboy at the restaurant, $18 to $22 an hour. Now think about that for a minute. 18.
That's the kind of money you used to make serving.
Well, that's the kind of money you used to make as a union person. If you were a union carpenter,
true.
Back in the day, you got paid 18, 19, 20 bucks an hour. Now they're making more than that, but still, that's damn good money.
It's huge.
If you're making 20 bucks an hour, times 40, that's $800 a week times 52, that's $40,000 a year. Isn't that, hold on, let me do it right. Let me see. It might be more than that. I did it in my head. I'm stupid. I can't do things in my head. Hold on a minute.
Are you going to the phone?
I am going to the phone. Okay, calculator. Okay,
so if I have the Z
okay,
Fold 3000, Ronco Fold-O-Matic, what do you have?
No, hold 800 times 52. 41.
Sorry,
I was close.
Ciphering.
$41,600. Okay, $41,600. That's decent money. I know you're going to say, well, that's not. I mean, if you made $800 a week, let's say your take-home pay is $600. Okay.
Net or gross?
Well, that's take home. That's net. In other words, 800 top line, 600 bottom line. I'm just throwing out numbers. Okay, even 600 times 4 is $2,400 a month. Okay, if you rent an apartment, I know you're going to say, well, most apartments are like $1,000 a month. Okay, fine. You still got $1,400 left over. Okay, well, food costs a lot. Yeah, you know what? If you shop right, you can eat. You can eat cheap. You know what I mean? You can eat like me. You can go eat the kids' meals, and you figure that I eat two kids' meals a day, which is like $12 times. Here, let's do that.
Sometimes the same kids' meal. Ew.
$12 times
I'm sorry.
30.
What was that man's name has that?
Food is
that hamburger shop.
Food is $372 a month. Okay, if I spend $12.
Freddy's.
Well, yeah, Freddy's. I can eat Freddy's. I can eat well at Freddy's.
Yes, you can eat Freddy's.
Culver's. I ate at Culver's
moly.
last night. Culver's, $7.40. Their kids' menus keep going up. But with Culver's,
but they give you a scoopy.
I get a big old burger. I get the regular size burger, not a kid's burger. Big old burger, scoop of French fries, soda, and a sundae with, if they call it novelty topping, which I've still never been able to figure out what novelty topping is. That's what they call it. And for $7. I mean, like, come on. You go to the store, they talk about a pound of hamburgers, $10 now. Okay, go to Culver's, eat the kids' menu. I do it all the time. Nobody's ever challenged me. So I'm saying, knock it off with the stupid voting stuff. Anybody who wants to vote can vote. And I once again, I hate it when these politicians use, well, look at this, those white people, those evil white people won't let the black people vote. Not the case. Knock yourself out. If you really want to vote, you can do it, and it won't cost you anything. And even nowadays, the people, well, how do I get to the polls? I can't get in the car and go to the polls. Guess what? Once again, on voting day, there are organizations you can call that will come pick you up, and they'll drive you to the polls, and they'll drive you back home for free. And don't, well, I can't, it's like the thing. I can't. Henry Ford didn't become a multimillionaire by saying, oh, I can't figure out how to make an engine. I can't figure out how to make a car. Elon Musk didn't get to where he's at. Like, so there's no way I could figure out how to put a rocket ship in the air. There's no way I could figure out how to make a car that runs on electricity. He said to himself, I'm going to do these things. And he did it. Okay, I'm done.
Are you done? Like, stick a fork in you, you're done?
The smartest woman says, move on, this is boring. Okay.
Now I can't take a little nap.
Oh, wow. Aren't you nice? Aren't you nice?
How'd that feel, buddy?
Okay. 7:29. Every time I hear that song, for some reason, I feel really blue. I don't know why.
Why?
I feel blue. I don't know why. I just feel blue. Never mind.
I'm evidently missing something. Why do you feel blue?
I'm making a stupid joke because the original version of that song was, it's not, I'm good. I'm blue. I'm blue, 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 blue. That's the original song.
Is that true?
Yes.
It is not.
Yes.
Who would write something like that? That's silly.
Hold on. Hold on a minute.
Oh, somebody had a problem with that.
You're getting dinged left and right.
Wow.
Okay. Here. The original song is by, who is it by? I can't remember who's it by. You never heard the original song? Hold on a minute.
Was it by her?
No, it's not by her. It's by,
who was it?
I don't know, the Blue Man Group. I don't know. I'm looking it up.
They
Hold on a
minute.
Yeah, they just play weird instruments.
Actually met them.
I know, they've told me about it too.
Oh, they did not.
Yeah, they called me up. And they go, wait, we met Shelley. Boy, she's weirder in person than she is on the air.
No, they didn't say that to you because I know.
Hold on a minute. I gotta watch the Peloton ad first. Okay. Hold on a minute. I don't want to do that. Hold on a minute. God. Okay, I'm blue. Who is the song?
Blue, 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 blue,
I'm
blue, 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 blue.
BLUE. It's by Eiffel 65. That's right. It's some here. Hold on.
Oh, they're my favorite group.
Yeah, Eiffel 65. Okay, I'm gonna have to edit this out of the thing because I can't play copyrighted music on the thing. Hold it. Here's the original song. I'm blue, 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 blue. See, they redid the song instead of I'm blue. It's
well, I like
I'm
the
good.
new rendition better than that one.
Oh, well, the original one was sort of weird to begin with. It was, by a bunch of, and let's be honest. Most people in the music business are. It's just like for example. You go back and you can find it real easily. You can find the original audition. Here, I can even find it super quick. Harry Styles, the original audition, Harry Styles, Styles. His original thing on, I think it was Britain's Got Talent. Original style, hairstyles, original audition. There it is right there. Okay. And he comes out. And he looks like a normal kid, normal kid. They show him, he's got sort of long hair, he's got long curly hair, and he gets out on stage and there's an interview behind stage, and here he is.
Tell me a bit about you.
I work in a bakery.
What do you do in the bakery?
I serve the cakes in the shop bit.
Okay, and what's popular at the moment?
Sorry?
What's popular?
In the shop?
Yeah.
The Viennese Fancy is always a favourite.
Yeah, I like those.
Okay, he's a normal kid. Okay, he's got a sweater on, he's got a shirt, he's got a hair. Now he wears bizarre, weird clothes, and he's got. I'm going like, okay, be yourself. I mean,
Maybe that is himself.
Well, okay.
Judgy McJudgerton.
Okay, I like that. Very good. Judgy McJudgerton, like Bodie McBoatface. You know where that came from?
No.
Do you know the story on Bodie McBoatface?
No.
The English spent like gazillion dollars on some new research vessel, and they had a contest, and they would let the public name this new research vessel. It was like some boat, like Oceanic Explorer kind of boat or something like that. So some guy started this campaign to name the boat Bodie McBoatface.
Oh, that's cute.
And it won. But of course, did they name it Bodie McBoatface? No, of course not. So in other words, because it's the government, and they lied. They say, hey, we're going to have a contest, and the most popular name suggestion is going to be the name of this new boat. So people started. And so what's interesting is now with that Bodie McBoatface, they use it all the time. What did you call it? You called it. What did you call it? You called it. What did you just say? I forgot what you said. Something like every.
Judgy McJudgerton.
Judgy McJudgeon. Yeah. See, and there's been stuff all over the world that's now people are making fun of it. Like there's Trainy McTrain face and stuff like that. Anyway. Okay. So here he is on. Nobody knew who this kid was. Here he is right here.
Millionaire Shortbread. Big seller.
Like that. And what's on the way down? Donuts?
White Coburg.
What's that?
White Coburg. It's like a white loaf, and it's like a circle, and it's got like a cross on the top.
Okay, and that's going down. And what about donuts?
Oh, donuts are good. Yeah.
See, he's an average kid. He works at a bakery. Now he wears weird clothes and does weird stuff. Bring back the original Harry Styles. I much appreciated him. People when they get fame, fancy, it's just like Howard Stern. Howard Stern has done a 180. Howard Stern was always against the man. He was always fighting the man. Howard Stern is now the man. Get what I'm saying? Hello?
I do get what you're saying.
Howard
And I don't know how I feel about that.
Howard
actually.
Stern was always the guy fighting the system. Now Howard Stern
Yes.
is the
I
system.
fight authority, and authority always
Right.
wins. Blah, 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 blah.
No, I fought the law, and the law won. Dun, 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 law won. Dun, 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 dun,
But I didn't shoot the deputy.
Boy, you're just full of them this morning, aren't you? Okay. So
Oh, so much.
the idea being is you get rich and famous like Howard Stern. Howard Stern's to the point where he works 2 days a week now. You know, it's just like here in a radio business. You had Guy Phillips when he went over to 97.1, and Frank Opinion. Oh, look, I don't want to work Fridays. I want to work just Monday through Thursday. Butthead, lazy butt. You know, if you're going to be on the radio, work 5 days a week. I mean, Jesus, early in the radio
But don't
business.
you expect them to work more than 2 hours a day?
Don't I expect them to work? It's like Ryan Seacrest. Like this past weekend, Ryan. I listened to American Top 40 again. Okay, hey, it's Ryan. I'm not here this week, but instead Jax is here. Okay, I don't want to hear Jax. Okay, nothing
Who's
against
Jax?
She's the gal that did the Victoria's Secret song. You know, Victoria's Secret.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's
she's
Jax.
buddy.
Okay, so
An old dude.
See, here's what happens now with American Top 40 and Ryan Seacrest. I know
What's that?
He goes into a studio and he says, here's what he do. Hey, that was number 40. Here's coming number 39. Hey, that was number 39. Here's number 38. Wow, number 38 was good, but 37's better. That's what he does. He goes in the studio for like 5 minutes, does the entire show, and he's gone. And now you get these crappy show. You don't get the dead dog letters or anything like that you did with Casey Kasem. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about?
I do. It's like listening to Delilah.
No, what Casey Kasem, there's a classic. I'd pull it up and play it, but I might get the uncensored version where in the middle of the recording session, he did the thing where he did the letters to Casey. Dear Casey, my dog passed away about a month ago, and I still miss my dog. And you know, and then Casey stops and he goes, "Who gives me this stuff? I just come out of an up-tempo song, and I'm screaming my lungs out in an up-tempo song, and I'm doing a dedication for a dead dog, a dead dog." He goes on and on and on. He's mad, and at the time he's just get Tom on the phone. Tom is the executive producer. Get Tom on the phone. I don't want to do this thing about dead dogs. You know, so it gets all mad.
Was he on the air?
No, it was the recording. They didn't do those live, but.
Okay.
Once again, Casey was a personality, and look, am I jealous of Ryan Seacrest? You're damn right I am, because he's making tons of money, and he's got a TV show, and I'm here talking to Shelley, you know.
Okay, bite me.
But
Because I'm up here showing up almost every day.
See, our other station.
And it's a problem with you?
No, our other station has gone to podcast, okay? And we don't play music anymore. Don't play any music. And people go
but we're pod jocks.
I'm a pod jock. I'm not giving you the title yet. I'm still thinking about that. Okay.
Excuse me?
The jury's still out. Okay, so.
What?
No, so the idea being is,
No. Let's circle back to what you just said.
I'll tell you in a minute. Let me finish the story. Okay. So you talk to young people like the 30 minus crowd. Okay. The 30 minus crowd. And they'll go, I don't like talk radio. Okay. Do you like podcasts? Oh, I love podcasts. Podcasts are talk radio. That's all it is. It's Joe Rogan sitting in a studio for an hour, 2 hours. It's like Larry King sitting in a studio on the radio talking to people. That's what podcasting is. Now, I know it's a little bit different. There's some they tell stories, then investigative reporting and stuff like that. But most podcasts is two monkeys sitting in front of two microphones talking back and forth to each other. That's what podcasting is. Okay, Adam Carolla, whoever. You know, okay, that's all it is. But see, the crazy thing about it is, the difference is it's linear versus nonlinear. You and I are live on the air. You and I are right now live on the air. But we could be like Ryan Seacrest, and we could just, go into a studio and go, okay, we've got 2 hours to fill between 6 and 8. Hey, it's 6:01. Hey, it's 6:02. Hi, Ryan Seacrest. It's 6:03. Hey, wasn't that a great song? Hey, I'm Ryan Seacrest. Good morning to you. It's 6:04. Hey, boy, what a great day it is. Sun's going to come up today. It's going to be a great day. I'm Ryan Seacrest. It's 6:05. And you record that stuff, and then some engineer splices it all together, puts music in. Ryan Seacrest in out of the studio in 5 minutes. He's done a 2-hour show. You and I slave over hot microphones for 2 hours every morning. I mean, we just, the sweat's dripping off our brows.
And then I have to sit there and I have to, harbor all the feelings that you've invoked in me during this 2-hour lovely time.
Wow. Thanks for sharing.
Huh?
Thanks for sharing.
Well, the struggle's real because then I got to deal with it all day.
Oh my! I'm not mean to you. What are you talking about?
Snarky and mean.
I'm not. Oh,
okay.
By the way, we'll talk about this next break. The German police have detained Greta.
Have they really?
Oh yeah.
Didn't she get arrested?
Yeah, she got arrested. But see, here's the interesting thing. This is why she's different than us. We'll talk about it next break.
There's so many people different than us, Brad.
Okay. It is 7:46. She is so talented. Megan Trainor, good morning to you, 7:50. It's BS. BS.Show is our web address. That's just like it is. I had somebody the other day say, is it BS.show.com? No, it's just BS.show. .show is now a TLD. For those of you in the know, you know what a TLD is, right? You know what a TLD is, don't you, Shelley?
It's a tilde.
It's a tilde. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, Greta Thunberg, whatever, Thunberg, you know who I'm talking about?
How dare you?
I do.
Her, okay. She was arrested in Germany. It's interesting because they are destroying a village in Germany. It's called, I can't pronounce these German names. It's some weird little, it's called Luseretha, Germany. And this is from Reuters. Climate campaigner Greta Thunberg was detained alongside other activists on Tuesday during protests against the demolition of a coal mine of Leuthenswasser, Leutzerath, but the entire group would be released later in the day, according to police. What they did was the German government gave them approval to take this village and essentially eradicate it so they can go and get coal. So they moved these people. They got them new houses. This area where this village was built is very, very rich in coal, and they weren't going to let them do this. But the problem that Germany has? They don't have enough energy right now because they relied on all this natural gas and oil from Russia, and with Russia people, the Russians attacking Ukraine, they don't want that anymore. And matter of fact, I think Putin turned off the gas line. So okay, fine, you don't get my gas. So now they're struggling because Europe doesn't have, and especially Germany does not have enough energy, and they're going back to coal. And the crazy thing about it is, Greta's all got her panties in a wad over this because of the fact that oh my God, we can't have coal. But it's like, okay, and the German government essentially said, we either have coal or we have people who are going to freeze. Which one do you like? And she says, let the people freeze. That's what she said. She said,
she definitely has an agenda, doesn't she?
And she said, let them eat cake.
You're funny.
No, but see, the interesting thing about this is, once again, don't get this wrong. I'm a guy who's been fascinated by electric cars since the EV1 was that. I told you the story.
I'm sorry, but to me, those electric cars are just pitas, because you can't make a long distance trip because you can't just pull in.
Okay.
Get your charge and go.
I believe
you have to wait for 2 hours.
It's funny you should mention that. I believe it was Wall Street Journal. They had a reporter who they gave her an electric car, and she went from someplace down in Texas up to in the Northeast, and she wrote a story about this. And they detailed their days and their traveling the whole bit. And she said they spent more time in charging stations than they did sleeping. This was over a 3-day period. They drove.
That doesn't surprise me.
So they drove from Texas up to someplace in the Northeast, like New York City or something like that. And so think about that for a minute. Okay, unless you go in to Wally's or Buc-ee's or a place like that, and you spend 45 minutes, typically, if you even got a big truck, let's say with a 30, 35 gallon, some of these pickup trucks have 35, 40 gallon tanks. Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty sporty.
It takes you can make a pit stop. You go in, you pull up to the pump, you put the pump in your fuel filler door, You hit the thing, you put the little catch on so the thing's got to automatically fill your tank. You go inside, you go to the bathroom, you buy a big gulp and a bag of chips on the way out. The thing's clicked off, your gas tank's full, you jump in your car, 10 minutes, okay? Right? 10-minute pit stop. Okay.
That's exactly my point.
Charging your car, different situation. You got to sit there. And once again, if people don't know this, the charging stations, not all of them are what they call the superchargers, whatever Tesla has.
No, they're not.
Some of them are slow chargers, and it depends upon the charger.
Some of them have been there for years.
Well, it depends upon the charger and what kind of charging equipment and where it's at, because
like Five Guys, or is it 5-star?
Which
over
guy?
there off Zoombell.
Oh yeah, that's the Tesla charging station. No, that's Smashburger.
Oh, that's right.
Right. That's, if you know what we're talking about, the Deerberg Shopping Center right there at Zumble and 70. It's like a big L, and if you're sitting in the parking lot looking straight ahead, you see the front of Deerberg's. But if you look off to your left, there's like an L that goes to different direction, a right angle to the Schnuck store. At the very end of that little L, there is a Smashburger, and in the parking lot there is a Tesla charging station. And they have the superchargers there. But if you look, they got a big old monstrous transformer stuff like that. In some places, they can't put that big a transformer. It's like I told you, if you can get a 110-volt charger for your car that you can plug into an outlet in your garage, okay? But that's what they call, I can't remember if the levels will go down or up. Let's say that's a level 1 charger, which is like the worst charger, okay? If your car battery is dead and you plug your car into one of those chargers, it may take 2 or 3 days to have your car charged. Okay?
Why?
Because there's not enough juice going into it.
Oh, because they're not the supercharger.
It's just a little tiny charger. It's like a trickle charger. And see, the people like you know who the guy we should talk to about this? We should call up Caleb, because the fact that his company, I don't know if he does a lot of this, but I know he's done some of them. In order to put in one of the higher chargers, you have to run 240 volt. You have to run like a dryer outlet. You know how you get your dryer if you have electric dryer, electric stove. You have a big old monstrous plug in the back that plugs into a special plug, and it's got big old thick wires, like 6 4-gauge wires that are super expensive. And you put a big old monstrous circuit breaker in your circuit breaker box.
Yeah.
That's what it takes for one of the good chargers. And that's not even the top of the line charger. That's like a level 3 or something like that. The Teslas are like level 5.
Are they 2-phase or 3?
There, it's all your home's all single phase electricity unless you live in a warehouse.
Not ours. Ours.
No, you have 2. You have single. You don't have 3-phase. You have regular.
No, we do have a 3-phase.
You do not have 3-phase electric in your house.
Okay.
I guarantee you don't have 3-phase electric in your house. There's no way in hell you have three-phase
because you've ever been in my home.
No, in most residential areas they don't have 3-phase. 3-phase is usually in industrial areas. If you get into, like for example, if you go out in the rural area, you never see 3-phase. How do I know this?
David has a Grizzly.
Shelley,
a bandsaw.
Shelley, you don't have 3-phase electricity in your house because you don't. Your neighborhood's not wired for 3-phase. It's not.
Okay.
Because you know how I know this? You know, this is the nerd in me.
No, Brad, how do you know this?
Because
758.
Most transmitter sites for radio stations are out in the middle of nowhere, and the problem is most of them don't have 3-phase electricity. So you're limited to the size of the transmitters you can have because you can only run so many watts on a single phase, essentially on a regular 240 volt, two pole feed. You have in your house you have 2-pole 240 volts electricity. I guarantee that's what you have. You don't have 3-phase in your house.
Okay.
If you lived in an industrial
Brad knows
area.
All.
No,
you are MacGyver.
No, I'm just saying if you lived in an industrial area, if you lived in like an industrial park, yes, I'd say probably have 3-phase. But you don't live in an industrial park. You live in the rich people's neighborhood. You live in
Yeah, which has brand new beautiful concrete in front of my house.
Which has got
with big huge
stains.
Oil stains.
That's
up and down. You know who I'm calling?
That's hydraulic fluid too.
I know what it is.
It's not all oil.
My councilman.
You're going to call Mike Elam and give him
Yes, I am.
Read him the riot.
He's my councilman. He wasn't before.
Is he your councilman?
But then they changed districts, so I don't know.
Is Elam your councilman? Is he?
No, he was across Kisker.
Who's your councilman now?
I don't know now.
Oh, that's terrible.
Before it was White.
Who's your state rep?
I do not know that.
Who's your state senator?
I got nothing.
Who's your U.S. rep?
Seriously. I'm good with
Who's your president? Who's your daddy?
Don't even get me on that. Who's your daddy?
Yeah, okay. We got to go. It's 7:59. Say goodbye. You got 3 seconds.
Have a great day, everybody. Peace, I fly, and happy hump day.
That was too long. It's 8 o'clock now.
Have you heard about Salt River Automotive? Not only are we open for business and ready to serve you, we are sponsors of the BS in the Morning Show on Westplex 107.1. Check us out on Facebook at Salt River Automotive LLC. See you soon.